Hello and welcome back to the Puncher's Chance podcast, and welcome back to the review show where we have a look back at everything that happened last week in boxing. Last weekend, that was of course Galal Yafai versus Francisco Rodriguez Jr. and the rest of that Matchroom card with plenty of prospects. And a little bit earlier in the week as well, Brian Norman Jr. with a scary knockout on Jin Sasaki. So if you haven't already, subscribe, follow us on YouTube or Spotify, depending on where you're listening. And with all of that out of the way, straight into the action. Galal Yafai, Francisco Rodriguez. That ripped up the script a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah, to be honest, it's the first time I watched Rodriguez and he looks like an absolute animal. When you look back at his career so far, 48 fights, and it's such a mixed bag of fights, but he looked really impressive on the weekend. He absolutely blitzed through Yafai. Not great for Matchroom, not great for Yafai, but yeah, he looked very, very good, I thought.
Yeah, I kind of questioned the fact that he said it was going to be the toughest fight of his career or the biggest fight of his career. I said, well, Sonny Edwards is, former world champion, big fight, one of the best in Britain. I was like, well, that's going to be a bigger fight. And, well, it shows what I know. Like, Galal Yafai was probably right. That is the biggest fight of his career. And unfortunately, he got really, really comfortably beaten. I couldn't imagine a world where he got beaten that comfortably to anyone in that division, let alone Rodriguez Jr., who's obviously now going to have the Taraji fight next for the WBC. What was so impressive? It was everything from Rodriguez. From the minute one, he was on it, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Watching it from the start, like you said, he started so quick. He came out the blocks. He was just coming from crazy angles. Just like any time Yafai would throw a punch, he'd throw 2 or 3 back and just look to constantly fire off at him. And I thought, right, Yafai's going to have to deal with this for the first couple of rounds, but I think he'll sort of warm into the fight and I think he'll start to pick him off, which is what I thought. But Rodriguez just didn't slow down, and the further the fight went, I got to give some credit to Yafai because I thought he showed quite a good chin, because I was surprised he didn't get knocked down about 4 or 5 times. That one in the 7th round where he sort of got shoved could have made a possible argument that was a knockdown. Obviously, he come out in the 12th round, all guns blazing, because he knew he needed a stoppage, got caught straight away and put on his arse. And just from that point, they were just like, yeah, he's not coming away with a win.
Yeah, you've got to give credit to Yafai because it was, like you say, brave performance, showed a lot of heart, a lot of chin, and more than I thought he probably had in the locker. Which I suppose to a degree bodes well for the future if he is going to continue on and fight for world titles again, which I imagine he will. But Rodriguez Jr., just from the moment they were exchanged a few times in that first round, and he just looked more powerful. He was landing the better shots. And Yafai was just getting caught too much too early. I don't think it was the fight to make. I don't think it was right to fight Rodriguez. You kind of had to box him. But Yafai does like a bit of a fight, and often because he's just kind of come straight into the pros and he's gone flying and he's come into it running, he's always been on top of those fights. And this one, when he wasn't, he maybe needed to think for a moment, hold on, do I just box him a little bit there? But I think by the time maybe he might have thought that, I think he'd taken too much damage and it was just, he was fighting on fumes, he was fighting on adrenaline. And when you've got the man on the other side of you who's broken the CompuBox punch record and the CompuBox power punch record for a flyweight in a fight, what do you do at that point? Do you know what I mean? Like, that is, he's thrown a record amount of punches, landed a record amount of punches, and a record amount of power punches. They were like 60 non-power punches in the whole fight from him. That's obscene.
Yeah, like you said, it's easier said than done, and it, like, you couldn't sit there watching it and think, oh, why don't you just take a step back from him, let him just figure him out and sort of try and counter punch. But when someone is that active and just sitting on your chest, like, you've got a throwback to try and slow him down in some way, and I don't think that helped your fight because he was just getting caught with so many big shots, and they were flush on the chin as well.
He did land a couple as well,
yeah,
which Rodriguez
he was just eating them up. But I seen someone say that we could see a similar fight to that for Zepeda and Shakur Stevenson, which is coming up.
I hope so.
Because Zepeda, obviously very similar. He likes to just be constantly on now. And did he have some sort of record when he fought a couple of months ago?
Yeah, he has broken records in the past.
So could play out the same. Obviously with Shakur Stevenson, I think you'd expect him to maybe navigate that a bit better because he is fucking boring, but
Yeah, to put it plainly.
He's good at what he does.
But he will have to... It's a difficult test because you get the sense that he will have to take a chunk out of Zepeda in that fight, but nobody has. But also, could he just box him? 12 rounds of boxing anyone that has that kind of power and that kind of energy is so difficult. We've seen it time and time again that, a skillful fighter has 10, 11 good rounds, but you need 12. So that could be a good test, and obviously we'll preview that when we get to it fairly soon. I think it's in a couple of weeks now, isn't it?
It's too far off.
There's obviously talk from the DAZN commentary suggesting that Rodriguez might be having a helping hand in that kind of performance. That's not great, is it?
You can think it. I don't think you can openly say it live on DAZN when you're the commentary team.
No, and let's be real, if Galal Yafai had come out all guns blazing and spanked Rodriguez for 12 rounds, they wouldn't be going, Galal Yafai needs testing after it. But then equally, it mirrors, for example, Josh Warrington, Mauricio Lara, where Josh Warrington's on top of the world. They bring a tough Mexican over, and he causes an upset, and then that obviously then led to later down the line him failing a drugs test. So maybe it's just a case of them being distrusting towards Mexican fighters coming away. But it is bad. It's a British arrogance about it in terms of that, my man shouldn't have lost. I'm throwing their toys out the pram a little bit, which I don't think they were, but it's not a great look.
Yeah, I think more than anything, Hearn needs to learn not to put his fighters in with fucking Mexicans.
Well, yeah, because
they just keep turning up and bowling them over. But I think it might be a case of they weren't quite expecting. I think we were expecting a tough-ish kind of test for Yafai, but one where we thought we were kind of already looking into, and we do it so often in boxing, look forward into the future a bit too much. You're like, he gets through this test in his hometown and he goes on out to Japan to fight for a world title, and you just hit that stumbling block, and it happens so often in boxing. I think maybe Saturday night was a case of, because I said earlier, Rodriguez, when you look at his career, don't quite know what you're going to get from him, because he's been beaten by people you probably have never even heard of. He went and took Nakatani the full 10 rounds in their fight, and then he turns up against the Olympic gold medalist and completely batters him. So
I don't know if it's style or if it's occasion or if it's a combination of the two. Obviously the occasion is that this guarantees you a shot at a WBC world title, which is for many fighters, the dream, the end game, the goal, the one to win. So from that point of view, you could say maybe he was just really up for it. And tapped into just another gear. Also, you could say that Galal Yafai is a very, very good boxer who likes a bit of a fight. And so if he comes up against someone who also really likes a fight, has a good tank, and hits a little bit harder than him, if he tries to have a bit of a fight with him, style-wise, it's not a good night's work. But I take what you mean. It's odd. I didn't expect it, and you didn't expect it, and they probably didn't expect it, which is why you're looking for answers. But I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt on that one, because otherwise I'm sure I'll have a letter through the cease and desist or whatever. Do you think it should have gone the distance, this one? Do you think there was a shout for either Galal's corner pulling him or the referee going, this isn't going anywhere? I'm going to save you to fight another day?
Possibly. I think when he got dropped in that 12th round, I know the corner sort of had the towel ready to go. So I think they were half thinking about it. And I don't think he was ever at the stage, probably beyond round 5, where he looked like he was at all going to win the fight. So, but I suppose it's difficult now. He's in one fight away from that world title shot. Do you want to... It's always in the back of your mind, if I take him out now, like, we're taking away that opportunity. So I can understand it's a really difficult position to be in. And no doubt we know how good Yafai is. There would have been a thought process with him of, we know he's good enough to get the job done. It's maybe just not his night tonight. So yeah, it's a difficult one. But there was a few times where I really thought he was going. So I thought he showed quite good heart in there to keep going through the all 12 rounds. Didn't give up. Even when he got dropped in the 12th, he got back up and he was like, right, just got to give it my best shot for the next 2 minutes. But it just wasn't enough on the night.
Yeah, I think when you were sort of saying it, I think definitely not the referee shouldn't have stopped that fight. I don't think there was ever enough for him to take away the opportunity from Yafai. And I think with the I think it's Ron McCracken, isn't it? Yafai's. I think he stayed with and obviously McCracken's been with him through the Team GB setup, and he knows him, and he's 30 years old now, Yafai. If he's a 21-year-old who hasn't had the amateur background and stuff, you maybe think, I don't want to put the miles on this kid. He's got more to come. Maybe they're thinking, he may only get one more world title fight. He's only had, what is it now? That was fight number 10. There's not a huge amount of miles on the clock going into that fight. They're probably thinking, let's just hedge our bets here, give him that shot. And also, we don't know what conversation's been had. Yafai might have said, I'm having this whether I'm in it or not. He might have said, don't you dare pull me out, sort of thing. We don't know. It's all speculation. Other fights on the cards, there were plenty of good ones. The Peter McGrail versus Ionut Baluta, another performance between a brilliant British boxer and a foreign fighter. Just keep coming, just keep going. This time going the other side. It wasn't bad for McGrail, was it?
No, I thought he looked better on Saturday than he did against Rhys Edwards, but I think Baluta's quite erratic style played into him quite a bit. The amount of times he was landing a left-hand flush on the counter, just drawing him in, Baluta'd throw the sort of backhand and he'd just clip him and he'd be out the range before Baluta could do anything. I thought he boxed really well. It was never a 95-95 card, I don't think.
No, definitely not. I'd seen it on Twitter. I caught up on Sunday and I'd seen the result on Twitter and I saw majority decision and I was expecting a sort of a bit of a sort of phone box war, a bit of a sort of difficult to pick rounds off, and then I watched it and I thought, he's just battering him. Like, what is going on? This is a, Baluta showed heart and he caught him with some great shots, and he was just a step above. I think it was more than anything, it was the footwork and the controlling of his feet that won him it. Baluta rushes his work a little bit in terms of the feet, and he got caught up on his own feet a few times, and McGrail just takes a little step on the outside to get himself balanced, and then, like you say, that left hand every single time found a home. Yeah,
he should have had a knockdown as well, I thought. He caught him flush with a big...
The one onto the ropes.
We've seen the shot from sort of behind there. He just straight in the face, straight right hand. But yeah, I thought that could have been ruled a knockdown. So, but yeah, I had him winning comfortably. That Everton Red Triangle Gym must fucking hate Baluta, mind.
Yeah.
He just comes up and gives him a scrap every time. But
yeah.
He's a very good away corner fighter that you want to see to test someone, but it doesn't, like we've seen with, what was it, Brad Strand last time, it doesn't always go your way. Even with that Brad Strand fight, though, there was some controversy over whether Strand should have had the decision that night. But yeah, I do like watching Baluta. He is quite a good fighter to watch. You know he's going to bring something towards you.
He's also a great test, because if you can't get through him, you're not going to kick on to higher levels. And obviously after the Rhys Edwards fight, which he on the whole, he probably just narrowly won. But that was a sort of the first time he's been tested in his career, McGrail, and you're sort of thinking, could this be, could he not be the level that maybe we hoped or expected him to be? And I think with that kind of performance against Baluta, when like you said, some gym mates of his have struggled, and I just think that was a good performance. It was what he needed. I think Baluta style-wise made him look good. I think it suited him to have someone like that. But that's what good matchmaking's about.
The only thing that concerned me was he got caught with a couple of shots early on just because of how sort of erratic Baluta was, and we've seen it obviously with McGrail in the Jericho Quinn fight where he walked onto a shot and got sparked out cold. So I was wondering, like, if Baluta catches him clean, is he gonna swing the other way? But I thought he dealt with it quite well. He boxed quite well off the back foot. I thought caught him cleanly so many times with that left hand, and I thought it was a really good performance from him.
That's a lesson learned, though, isn't it, with that O'Quinn fight, in the sense of, he got sparked out once when he caught napping, and so, you know, let's not do that again, basically. And it changes you as a fighter, sometimes for the worse, sometimes for the better. And I think in McGrail's case, probably for the better, because he's got the time to kind of learn and move on. And then before we get on to just an array of top prospects that I think we can pick apart, Conah Walker against Liam Taylor, was it? That's another quality Conah Walker, textbook Conah Walker performance. In a bit of a fight, you're thinking, oh, which way is this going to go? And then as the rounds go on, his pace, his chin, his engine, and inevitably, and then the power wins in fights every single time. Well, except for the times it didn't. But
yeah, but you know he's always going to be in a good fight. I absolutely love watching Conah Walker.
Yeah.
If I'm a British boxing fan and these cards are coming to, obviously this one was in the Midlands, but if I'm paying my £70-80 to go and watch these cards, I'm absolutely ecstatic if I see someone like Conah Walker on the undercard, because you know you're guaranteed to have a good fight. Actually, funny enough, the first time I went to a live event was in Cardiff, and Conah Walker was on that card.
Was that the Cordina?
No, it was the Liam Williams Krassyuk
Yes.
Bank. He was on the undercard of that. I think he lost that night, but I can remember he had a very good crowd come down with him from Wolverhampton, and I watched that fight. That was probably my favourite fight of that whole night, and I just thought, I want to watch him again. And that's exactly what you want from a fighter.
Yeah, I think if I could build my dream card with the whole of the Matchroom stable, and I think Conah Walker would find himself a place on that undercard, probably somewhere around the sort of mid to late main events, because he's just a real crowd warmer, isn't he? You know, people get excited. Like you say, he brings a good crowd, but you know you're in for a good fight. Again, his name has escaped me these last couple podcasts we spoke about it last week. His last fight where he was, before this one, he was down and out of it seemed.
Scarf fight.
That was it, Scarf, and he was seemingly out of it, and you're thinking this is the perfect performance from Scarf, and then one shot changes it, and he just blasts him out of there. Yeah, great, and another good performance and another step up. What's next for Conah Walker if you could pick a fight?
The fight that they're on about is him and Echo Esman, which is, again, one of my favourite fighters in Britain to watch. Them two together could produce one of the best fights we'll watch in Britain all year.
Yeah, it's guaranteed fireworks or an early knockout. That's the only way it's not. But you get the sense they've both got the chin and the engine to go the rounds. I think that's a great fight. I think the other one that I would maybe like to see that a lot of people have been calling for is Pat McCormack.
Yeah.
I think that's a really great test for both of them, in the sense of, I think Echo Esman probably deserves that world title shot sometime soon. Maybe not step down to a British title fight against Conah Walker, whereas Pat McCormack's on the way up. And if you're talking litmus test in terms of whether or not he's the real deal, it doesn't get much better than Conah Walker. Because if you are the real deal, someone like Conah Walker you should be beating. But if you're not, if you're even a percentage down from what people are expecting from you, then you're in for a long night, because he will keep coming, and you're going to have to be switched on.
Yeah. Was it Lewis Crocker that beat him, Conah Walker, out in Ireland?
Yes.
Yeah. And he went on, obviously, well, he's fighting, the rematch with Paddy Donovan's going to be for the vacant IBF title now, I think. So,
yeah, if that gets made, though, I think I've seen some rumblings that possibly that's not being made for whatever reason, but that's obviously all speculation. It could just be Billy Nelson, with Keyboard Warrior on Twitter. But yeah, top stuff from Conah Walker. Pick of the prospects. What's your choice?
Tiah-Mai Ayton.
Yeah.
There's only one I thought she looked absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, but I'm sure someone will accuse me of just bringing her up non-stop, so I thought I'd let you do it so I can talk about it. Yeah, all the talk going into it was she's the next big thing, she's the dogs, she's proper, and even with all that expectation going into it, I think she was better than I thought she might be. Yeah,
I was just really impressed with, she looks so comfortable and calm in it for like a debut. Like, there's bound to be some nerves, but I just really liked the way she stood in front of her opponent, set up the shot. It was just a simple 1-2 flush, And I felt like the referee probably could have pulled the poor girl out there a lot sooner, but
Yeah, the first exchange of punches, the ref could have gone.
yeah, let's call it a day now.
Yeah, maybe not.
But yeah, she hit the first knockdown. I thought, right, let's leave it there. He let her get up again. I was like, oh, she is in for it. And just the exact same combo again, just bang, 1-2, and she was done. But very impressive, and I feel like she'll be one that you don't want to rush her in a way because she's young, obviously, and still got plenty of time ahead of her, but looks like one that you could really start pushing through the gears quite quickly because she seems to have the style and the ability to just be very entertaining. And with female fighters, we don't tend to get as many that have got that sort of knockout power, knockout ability, just because they've got the shorter rounds and less time to work with. So, but I think she's going to be an absolute star for Matchroom.
Yeah, absolutely. When you talk knockout names, you're thinking sort of Caroline Dubois is probably the first one that comes to mind. And in terms of pro debuts, I think Tia's is as, if not more impressive than Caroline's was. Thinking back to it, I haven't watched it in a little while. But yeah, I just think, like you say, it was the simple stuff done so well, but she's just so quick and strong that you can expect it, but you can't do anything about it. And I think it was just the simple stuff. And we've seen, and I spoke last week about someone like Tera Moana, who's 7-8 fights in now, and he's still looking raw. You've got Pat Brown, we'll get onto a little bit, who's obviously had an exceptional amateur career himself, hasn't looked that polished yet, and yet she's done it from a few rounds in. I get the sense it's going to be a Moses Itouma situation in the sense of we're all going to be sat at home in a year, 2 years, whatever's time, going, Kina Ledi, give her a good fight, give her a world title fight now, she's ready. But obviously that's not their business. Their business is to give her the best chance commercially, career-wise, all of the above together. And she is just 18 years old, which is mental to say. Speaking
about the commercial aspect, though, do you think Matchroom will keep hold of her, or do you see someone like MVP, who are obviously investing heavily in women's boxing and will probably throw a lot more at them than maybe Matchroom would be willing to offer in the future?
Having spoken to her, she said it was always Matchroom from when she was a kid. She didn't speak to anyone else. And her coach reiterated that literally it was just like, oh, Matchroom have come in? Cool, yes. So maybe not. And obviously, we're yet to see whether that investment from MVP is more of a sort of flash in the pan, or whether it is genuine long-term investment in women's boxing, which I certainly hope it is. I really do. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I hope she stays in Matchroom because I think she's got a big place in British boxing, and I think they can carve her out as a sort of real talent. I was just looking. She's obviously down at bantamweight for this fight, so it's not the most stacked division, certainly not in the UK. I think Laura Payne was going to fight for a British title or Commonwealth title. I think that fight got called off. The former Team GB. It's hard to say, but what stands in her way towards the top? But it looks from that performance like not much. Time.
How long before she gets a world title fighter, Ashton Gate, do you reckon?
Well, she said 3 years. She said, if I get a world title opportunity in 3 years, I'd say yes to it. So she's certainly not in the mind of rushing. Because that was the early kind of, that was are you considering rushing? Oh, if I get one in 3 years. So in her mind...
That's still 21 though.
Exactly. I'd love a world title fight in Ashton Gate. I think that would be great. But we'll have to wait and see. I think that's one that will be burning away every week. It's almost similar to someone else on the undercard in Giorgio Visioli that we've been talking about for a long time. We've known he's the real deal for a long time. We've been wishing him on for a long time, and they're just slowly stepping up the opponents again and again and again and again. And at some point, they're going to roll that dice, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah, that was the only thing that disappointed me. It was when I looked for the run-in order, I seen he was on before the bell again. I was like, you just want to see it. Like we've banged on about it since I think pretty much his pro debut, he's just looked impressive every time we've watched him. So I think it is just that playing the waiting game to see him get tested now. As he ranked number 7 in the UK already.
Yeah, I'm just having a look. You've obviously got Royston Barney-Smith above him. And then beyond that, you're looking at Josh Warrington. Reece Belotti's obviously the British champ fighting Ryan Garner. And you've got James Dickens, who's a quality operator. And, Lee Wood's not too bad himself. So there's plenty ahead of him on the road. Perhaps they're waiting for Belotti to have that fight with Ryan Garner. Whoever wins that is likely to vacate. And then, they're looking at maybe picking up that one.
I suppose it's just playing it smart and it biding your time, and maybe if that British title, once it becomes vacant, if they can get him a nice fight there, it's a good stepping stone on to. So I feel like once he gets that British title, you can manoeuvre him quite nicely to the international belts. Then you don't have to worry too much about who's around him domestically, as much as you can get him some nice fights with fighters from a bit. All around really. Try and test his skills in different areas, like get a bit of practice against different types of opponents, and then, I don't think it'll be, again, similar to Tiah-Mai Ayton too much longer before we're talking about him really knocking on the door at a decent level. Yeah, he's only I think 22, so he's on that young end, and he's got the time ahead of him. I don't. We're talking as if it's a when, not an if, and that is always obviously a risk, but it doesn't feel like too much of a risk. I think he will definitely pick up a British title and move beyond that soon. Another fighter on the card, Pat Brown, was an improvement on his debut, but as I sort of alluded to. In the earlier talking, again, it seems he's a bigger name than he is a good boxer, but that's not too hard because he's a very big name and there's a lot of noise around him. I'm looking forward to a performance where I go, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, it's hard when you're watching him to sort of know where he's going to fit in. I see what you mean with that. Like, there's a part of me when, like, the way they've built him up and the way they're sort of pushing him out there, it makes you feel like, he's destined for something really good. But then, you also thinking, is he just going to be stuck as, like, a British level fighter at the same time?
But even at that, you've got Chev Clark, Alois Youngby, Vidal Riley, Isaac Chamberlain, Michael Lawal. There's so many decent operators at that British level in the cruiserweight division in this country. The only thing about him that I would say is obviously that power is scary, but he also looks huge for a cruiserweight.
I every time I see him, I forget he's a cruiserweight. I think he's heavyweight.
Yeah,
but I like the fact he's got a bit of a switch to him as well. I feel like he comes across as a very nice guy, like quite down to earth guy when you see him in interviews. But I don't know if you watched his walkout on the weekend. It just seemed like there was a complete switch here. He was ready to get in there and hurt his opponent. I thought he'd done some quite good work to the body. I liked his left hooks to the body, which the left hook to the body sort of was dropping the hands down. That's what opened the uppercut, which was the...
I was going to say, that knockout itself was a spectacular combo. Right to the body, left to the body, big uppercut. Obviously, I can't remember if it's the other way around to the bodies, but 2 shots to the body, like you say, drop the hands, right through the middle. Yeah, really tidy.
I think he looked a lot better, a bit more sharper in this compared to his debut, but probably put that down to a bit of nervousness and a bit of wanting to impress.
Yeah, it's more measured this time, and you can see what he's doing. The only real concern is that I think he's a touch on the slow side for a cruiserweight, and whilst he makes up for that with a hell of a lot of power, he got caught a couple of times with some pretty simple jabs in that fight. When he comes into a fight with a quality operator like someone, let's say Vidal, who's quick, it's a difficult test. And I think he's got Lewis Oakford next, who was stopped by Alois Youngby in Wembley Arena on the Magnificent Seven card, but is an awkward enough opponent that he will have to be switched on in that fight. He really will.
Yeah, I think that's a good next step for him. But like you say, that sort of British level,
Stacked.
is stacked at the minute, and especially with obviously Chev Clark dropped the belt to Vidal Riley. I think Vidal and Alois Yumbi are going to be fighting for that British title. So like, yeah, it's hard to see where he. Not that they need to rush him at the moment. Like they can bide
2 fights.
Yeah, they can bide his time a bit. Wait for them to sort of move on to European or beyond. But it'll be exciting when he's in that first real. When he's probably headlining or co-headlining a show against another big British name. That's when you'll really see, right, where is he at in terms of the pecking order, I think.
Yeah, and I genuinely, I say all of this in, I hope he's even, 3/4 as good as he is a big name, because I think he's really exciting, and to have those kind of names is really exciting, and it's part of the beauty of what we have with the Team GB setup and the hype that comes from it, is that when they're ready to go and when they are the real deal, it's so great because they just come with such a buzz around them. But on the flip side, there are also plenty of examples of Team GB fighters that we've given the keys to the city to maybe too early, and then they haven't quite delivered on that, and it's getting that balance with those. Anywhere else on the card that you feel overly inclined to talk about?
It's just interesting for me that Matchroom have got a very stacked list of Midlands area prospects.
Yeah,
they could just keep
big time.
They could probably put a fight out in Birmingham every 2 or 3 months. With obviously they got Udine, Sullivan, Aaron Bowen's always in a good fight. He got a good knockout win on the weekend. He saw that fight with James Todd is one I always go back to. I thought that was a brilliant fight, and he's always in a bit of a war. The only shame was the fact that obviously Yafai was the sort of hometown hero, the headliner, lost. But yeah, I do like a fight night in Birmingham.
I was going to say, I'm not complaining if they do. If they fancy doing one every couple of months in there, then I'm certainly not complaining.
I went to Matchroom Boxer show with Ben Whittaker. I thought it was a brilliant atmosphere in there, and that Resorts World Arena, I don't know if you've been there, but really good place to hold boxing. It's just a nice little area. It's got plenty of stuff around there. Great for fans. So yeah, I'm more than keen to get back here at any time.
Fair enough. Another place I'd be keen to go for some boxing, but I don't think I will be anytime soon, over to Japan, where Brian Norman Jr. made the jump. There's always a sort of air of mystery about going over to Japan, and it's sort of a bigger deal, isn't it? It's the sort of American equivalent of a Brit travelling to Vegas, I feel like.
Yes.
It's that kind of, you're going into the Lion's Den, they're great, they're awkward, they have all these... It's hard to pinpoint what level they're at, a lot of the Japanese fighters, but they're always good. But Brian Norman Jr., he pulled out one of the knockouts of the year so far. That was spectacular.
Yeah, when I seen the video flying about Twitter, it was a hell of a shot, but it makes you try and think of other, I couldn't picture one better that we've seen probably this year.
Opataya Naika rings to mind. That one was early in the year, and that was a serious knockout, but...
He caught him. He was out cold.
Yes, serious, and he just caught it perfectly. And I said in the preview last week that Jin Sasaki's an exciting fighter. He's a brave fighter. I thought he had a good chin on him. He showed a good chin in his last fight, but he just got caught perfectly clean. And it's the kind of shot that you go, night.
Yeah, he looked very good, and I feel like he doesn't. I don't know. He doesn't get as much hype. Maybe it's just me. Obviously, we in the UK probably don't put as much sort of backing behind American fighters as we should, but he doesn't get maybe as much hype as probably some of the others. Yeah,
but is that in itself a sort of a fair test of it? Because the likes of Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia, Teofimo Lopez, fighters like that, they're big names in the UK. People know who they are. People care about them when they fight. People think about staying up and watching them. Certainly not paying pay-per-view for them at those prices, but you know what I mean. The likes of Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, British fans watch sometimes, but don't get too excited about. And then, that sort of next step down is the quality fighters that maybe aren't cared about quite as much. The likes of Brian Norman Jr., Richardson Hitchens probably is coming towards that, albeit younger in his career, where his talent probably outweighs his global reach. But yeah, if there's any way to announce yourself to British boxing fans, is that kind of shot in it.
Yeah, I was going to say big knockout like I do in the rounds on Twitter or
it's
whatever.
not going to do any harm.
No, they're going to start to take notice. But looking through the list of welterweights, it'd be interesting to see where they go with them next.
Yeah, now that obviously Boots is moving up to, 154, I think it is the next division up. So it's not going to be a Boots fight. You've got Mario Barrios fighting Manny Pacquiao.
I was going to say you could have Brian Norman Jr., Manny Pacquiao fight in a couple of
Something tells me you won't be. And then other than that, you've got Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, and Rolly Romero moved up to welterweight, didn't they, for that that Times Square card. So it's... I don't know if I would like any of those in a fight against Brian Norman Jr. at welterweight. So it's hard to say. I just don't know where he fits in, what fights make sense for him most. Does he fight the winner of Paddy Donovan, Lewis Crocker for the IBF when they have that fight and pick up another title? Could be a way to do it.
Yeah, he's the WBO champion now, isn't he? So
yeah, Barrios is the WBC. The IBF is vacant. I never know who the WBA is because BoxRec don't have it. Yeah. And is it Tulani and Bengues, the IBO, after he beat Michael McKinson? I think.
I suppose it's just
welterweight.
Biding your time for a unification fight, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Which I'm sure will come in time. Speaking of unification fights, collecting of the belts, undisputed title fight, Olexandr Usyk versus Daniel Dubois at Wembley, just round the corner, and it's been announced that Alexander Usyk and Alex Krassyuk, his promoter, have parted ways just, 3.5 weeks out from what you'd have to say is the biggest fight of his career, which is mental to say because of how many bigger ones he's had before it. Yeah, where do we stand on that?
I don't know, it's making me a bit... Get a bit nervous. But it's weird, isn't it?
Why?
Even the statement they put out doesn't seem to, it's not like you don't know whether they've had a falling out or...
But also, it's not like it's his missus or anything. He doesn't have to go home to her every day. He doesn't have to go home to Alex Krassyuk every day and then, cook him dinner. They could, if you're not getting on, just tell him to sling one for a couple of weeks, while I focus on the biggest, then we'll talk about it after. Just the fact that something...
I just can't imagine Usyk without Krassyuk next to him, that's the thing.
So weird.
Yeah.
Who's it going to be next? Is it the little lad who got headbutted by John Fury? Is it, who's going to be there alongside him when you've got... I
really like Alex Krassyuk as well. I think he's done a brilliant job with him.
Same. He's done unbelievably
He was
well.
brilliant with Fury. He rattled Fury constantly. Yes.
The only thing is, I don't know if you need that with Daniel Dubois.
No, it just goes over his head. Anyway,
it's not like it's going to be... You're not going to rattle Daniel Dubois and Daniel Dubois is not going to try and rattle you, or if he does, he's not going to. So it's kind of... From that point of view, he's null and void, but... I don't know. It's odd. It's like you say, even if it's just 1% or 2, it's an undisputed heavyweight title fight. 1% or 2 the other way is all you need for... And Daniel Dubois is confident.
He is very confident. I just hope all is well with them, because when I think of boxing partnerships, them two together, I've always really enjoyed Usyk and Krassyuk. But it'd be a shame that he's not going to be here for this one.
Yeah, he's an iconic duo, isn't it? It's sort of your Essien Lampards, your was it Tony Kroos, Luka Modric, Krassyuk, Usyk, really. The only thing I would say as a sort of a counterpoint to all of this is Usyk's fought multiple times while his hometowns are being bombed, his home country's being bombed, his friends and family are at war. If there's anyone in world boxing right now that could brush off a little conflict leading up to a big fight, it's probably Alexander Usyk, isn't it? I get the sense, and it might just be because he's always done it, but his mind just seems to be iron tight. You can't get in there.
Yeah, he's just... Everyone they throw it, especially in Britain, everyone they've thrown at him, Bellew, Fury, Joshua, he just knocks him aside.
And Dubois for the first time, yeah.
But I feel like this is very much a different Dubois to that first fight, but I'm still confident Usyk will get the job done. It's really difficult because I think Usyk will go down as one of, if not my favourite fighter ever. But if there is one British fighter you'd love to see get the job done, it would be Dubois. Imagine the scenes in Wembley if he beats him.
It would be astronomical.
You can argue he wins that fight. There's an argument to be made that he's the best, if not second best, heavyweight Britain has produced.
Behind
Lennox Lewis.
Yeah. And was it Lennox Lewis who was originally Canadian? Am I right in saying?
Yeah,
so
he fought for Canada. He won gold medal for Canada.
So Dubois would be the
He'd
best.
Be the pure British.
Born in Britain. You got to be careful with that one. That's you get into ropey territory there. But yeah, born in Britain, heavyweight of all time.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Some people make the argument that Lennox Lewis was.
I mean, don't get me wrong. That is a nitpicky title. I am the best British heavyweight born in Britain of all. It's a bit wordy for Daniel maybe, but.
No, but
exciting
I could just imagine the scenes at Wembley Stadium as well. Like the most iconic stadium in the UK outside the Cardiff City Stadium, of course.
Of course. Is my claim that the Daniel Dubois fight is a tougher fight for Usyk than the Tyson Fury fight ever was, getting better by the day? Do you think? Because I said that, and I was 100% confident on that.
Yeah, I do get what you mean. I just feel like I don't know. It's difficult.
Well, we sat just next door, and when we made the predictions for the first Usyk Fury fight, which felt like a huge moment, and me and you were pretty headstrong, pretty steadfast in our claim that Alexander Usyk would beat Tyson Fury, and we never really wavered from that at all. Every time I try and confidently outright say that Alexander Usyk will beat Daniel Dubois, I can't do it wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I do get what you mean. You do get the feeling in a sense the more you edge closer towards it. And I don't know, I feel like it's with Usyk Fury, Usyk was able to get into Fury's head because I feel like Fury will think about the little things a lot more than Dubois will. Dubois sort of just gets told, this is what you're doing, and his head will just be on that. Like, I don't
absolutely. He seems like a man possessed at the moment. You talk to him, and the messaging that he repeatedly puts out is identical, and it's one of confidence. We're doing all the right things. All the right things are in place. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it because everything is right. And when I spoke to him, and he talked about the fight with Joshua. And they had a party in his house the morning of, and they had friends and family and listened to music, and then they got a coach to the stadium and they were singing war chants in the coach, and they were just, it was all about getting him in the mindset of this is happening, whether Anthony Joshua likes it or not. I'm going to win this fight, and obviously we know that that's not a real thing. You can't genuinely speak something into absolute existence, but mindset is massive, and he's bang on it.
Yeah, I suppose you could make the argument that Dubois may be more confident in his mind that he's winning compared to how confident Fury, as much as Fury will give off the sense that he's confident he's going to win. I don't think he was 100% sure, whereas Dubois, like you said, with the AJ fight, he was adamant he was winning that. The ring walk, he looked extremely confident. And if he comes into this the same way, you never know how it's going to go.
He's got as good a chance as any. He's got a
puncher's chance.
There we go. And the good thing is, we don't have to wait too much longer to find out about it. You guys listening or watching on YouTube don't have to wait all that long. But in the meantime, while you're waiting, if you've got a spare few seconds, subscribe or follow on YouTube or Spotify, depending on your preferred platform. Or if you're listening on one and you didn't realise we have another, that's right, you can see us. Or if you don't like the look of us, you can just listen to us. So lots of great options on there. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, all the places you want to find us, you can find us if you wish. Other than that, thank you all for tuning in as always, and you'll see you all later in the week for our preview show.
Punches Chance. Punches Chance podcast.